Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Mental Health Warrior podcast. It's a pop-up podcast today. I didn't do a time because I'm having work done on my house. You guys know that I had solar put on my house 2 years ago, and then last year I had the Tesla Powerwall installed, so I'm 100% off the grid. However, they came out to do an inspection. The county says that you have to add another shutoff. So the gentleman's been working on the shutoff today, and because of that, he ran a little late. So I was a little concerned that we may not even have the show because I had the great Melissa Allen on. Uh, and I'm really excited to have her on the show because what we're going to talk about with summer coming on, is really important. I think sometimes, it gets lost or people forget what's important. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit before we get started here or after we get started. But hey, you guys know that the Mental Health Warrior podcast is now available on Reads Across America Radio. I'm super excited by that and humbled, but it's super easy to find. They replay it on Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. And you can find Reads Across America on all your favorite apps for what you listen to your podcast for your online radio, iHeartRadio, the Odyssey app, the TuneIn app. And it's super easy. You just type in Reads and Reads Across America, which pops up, and you click follow, and you're good to go. And also along with that, you see up in the top left-hand corner, it says WAA. That's for Reach Across America. You can use your phone and scan that. That goes you directly to a website where you can donate for Reese, to ensure that Reese are placed on, the veterans' graves, during the holidays and stuff. And what a great program they have there. And so you can use that link to directly to donate. Now, I don't see who donates. So if you donate 5 or more Reese, if you'll let me know, that's awesome because I'll give you a shout out on the podcast. Probably not while the show's going on, but probably on the next podcast. I make the list and give you a huge shout out. And I'm super excited because season 2, I got the new Mental Health Warrior t-shirts out. So if you see there on the right-hand side, you see the t-shirt and you see the QR code, you can scan that. But what you don't see is the back. And I'm going to hold it up and see if you guys can read what the back says. Let me see. I got to close this window here real quick. There you go. Now let's see. I don't know if you can see that, but on the back of the shirt it says, "To the person behind me, you are a warrior. You are worthy and you matter. The person in front of you." And
Very
so
cool.
I'm super excited about that. And you guys, with season 1 t-shirts are still available too. And on the back of that t-shirt, you guys know that I put the crisis number on there, the 741 number, because you never know when you walk by somebody that having issues or problems. And a lot of people don't know about the 741 number. Or now you can dial 988 and talk to a counselor and get the help that you need because nobody needs to suffer in silence. And with that, Melissa, I want to say, first of all, sorry for being late getting on, but also
No
I want to
problem.
say thank you for coming on the show. I was excited when you reached out to me, to come on my show with what you do and the company that you work for, and something that's so important. And anybody who's ever dealt with skin cancer or anything like that knows the importance of sunscreen. So with that, my audience don't know who you are. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and tell my audience a little bit about you, and we'll get this thing rolling.
Yeah. Hi guys, and thanks for having me, Cliff. Um, we have a small mineral sunscreen company, and then what I do on the side of that, I've been working in the allied healthcare industry for 24 years now. I have a medical fitness facility, so I explain to people I'm kind of like a bridge between a physical therapist and a general personal trainer. So I deal a lot with injury recovery, that type of thing. So that's my service business, and then after my husband was diagnosed with skin cancer, that's what inspired us to start the sunscreen company.
Oh, that's awesome. So to go back to what you were talking about. So if I'm going to physical therapy and let's say my physical therapy ends and I still need to have more therapy done, but maybe not being paid for, that's kind of what you're talking about, where you step in and help. Or did
Exactly.
I say that? That's nice.
Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty
and
cool.
yeah, and I used to volunteer at a physical therapy clinic, so I got a lot of hands-on experience. My plan was actually always to go to medical school, and then it changed along the way, and I didn't know people made their living doing this, and it's kind of funny how things kind of come full circle. I used to accompany my grandmother who raised me to physical therapy, when I was a kid, and the physical therapist said, "Oh, your granddaughter would make a great physical therapist." And I thought, physical therapy, like who wants to do that? And I didn't see it for what it is, but it's kind of funny that that's where I work primarily, and for my service industry, and anyway, then running the product company on the side, and that's been it's a lot different. So it's been a lot to learn. It's been
Oh,
exciting
I'm
though.
sure. It's funny because I'm a big gamer and I play PS5s, and
Okay.
I was playing a game called Destiny, and a guy that was on our team, he actually lives down in Jamaica, and
Oh.
he's a personal trainer, and just got to visiting with him and stuff, and he actually during COVID down there. Still had his gym open, but he was catering to children that had mental health issues that needed to go to physical therapy and stuff like that
Oh.
that couldn't get in. And so he actually changed his business model.
Oh.
He was really helping kids with autism and just kinds of all kinds of different things. Him and his wife are both trainers, and I thought, man, what a great thing to do, for the kids and for the parents,
Oh
to
yeah.
out and they were able to do that. And so thankful. I just wondering, COVID was a lot of challenges for a lot of people. Did you
Yeah.
face these kind of challenges too, or was your company open then?
No, actually, we faced a lot of challenges. To be honest with you, I didn't know if we would even survive it. Here in California, they're very strict about everything. We were the first group of businesses to be shut down because they classified me like a regular gym, like a 24-hour fitness, which we're
Mhm.
not. And we did have small group classes then at the time. I had some yoga instructors because I see yoga as a complement to strength, mobility, and stability, which is what I primarily do. So we had to move those online, and but then from there we had a lot of other problems with rioting, major rioting, like it from um, in Santee coming into El Cajon, and the other town next to us in La Mesa, major rioting, burning fires, breaking windows. It was a challenge to stay open, and then at one point we went down there just to defend my location. We couldn't get things boarded up in time,
Oh
and
wow.
I train in jujitsu, so I have a lot of police officer friends and things like that, and military friends, of course. And so a lot of us just went down there, and everybody brought things to protect ourselves. We stayed there till about 2 or 3 in the morning, came home, and then it happened the second time. I got a call from our local pastor who explained that they had just found a pallet of bricks right around the corner from me, and they have a youth center which is right by me, and he was calling to let me know that they were headed over there to board up the youth center because they expected trouble. So and that time we were able to get supplies. We had to board up the whole the whole front of the area, and anyway, it's just a lot of challenges.
Well, first of all, thankfully you made it, right? And that's
Yes,
the most important. My second question is, well, who put the pallet of bricks there? Because they kept popping up in the DC area too. All of a
yes,
sudden, bricks and
exactly.
all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of funny how they can't find them. But
Yeah, sure.
we won't divulge too much into that. But it is interesting. Before we came online and while I was rebooting my computer, Melissa and I was talking some. And of course, your husband served in the military,
Hmm.
and we talked about that. And she's like, "Well, I didn't serve." And I'm like, "Well, you kind of did serve because if you're married to the military, then you both serve, no matter whether you're in or not." And so, thank you for the support that you gave your husband for the time that he is in, because I think for a lot of times we forget, the spouses and the sacrifices they make also, because it's not easy, to be married into the military. And I can say that because I'm married into the military, even though my wife and I were both in the military. She's still active duty. Actually
Nice.
just picked up promotion. So we're super excited about that. She just pinned on '06 for the captain in the Navy. So,
That's
but
great.
she was Navy and I was Army. So we spent a lot of years living in different houses. Um,
Okay.
we spent like 8 years living in different homes. So, that was met with a lot of challenges. So I want to thank you for that. Also your company that you talked about is a sunscreen company, and you
Hmm.
guys have
Yep.
came up with mineral-based sunscreen. And
Yep.
let's talk about that. And the reason I reached out to you is because I had my own skin cancer, scare and had it removed. And the funny thing about skin cancer is where it was on me is a place that hardly ever gets sun, right? And for
Yeah.
years,
Hmm.
doctors told me that was a mole, and I was like, "Nah, that don't," or a freckle. They told me it was a freckle. I'm like, "Nah, that just doesn't look right," And finally, I got to a
Yep.
doctor where he's like, "Yeah, we probably should remove that," and come to find out it
Yeah.
was. precancerous, or I forget what basal cell, whatever, I forget what
Hmm.
they call it. But yeah, so it was important. And then of course, I see a dermatologist, once a year to get checked
Hmm.
and things. And so I think for a lot of people, especially in the military, you often don't think about, well, put sunscreen on your face or whatever. But a lot of times we forget to put on our arms or our legs, or if you got shorts
Right.
on, because people
Right.
think, well, it's not directly in the sun. But you can get skin cancer can pop up in areas where you don't even places on your body that doesn't get a lot of sun.
Yeah, yeah, that happened to a friend of mine as well, and he got it on his back, and he said he always wore wetsuits, when he surfed,
Mhm.
always, and yeah, that does happen to a lot of people, and he was shocked. He couldn't figure out why he would get it in that area.
So explain to the audience who doesn't know about, and it's K4, right? Is that pronounced right? Your company K4?
Oh, cover,
Cover. Okay.
KOVR, but pronounced,
KOVR,
yeah,
KOVR.com. Cover. So,
KOVRUP.com.
okay. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks for correcting.
Uh-huh.
I should put my glasses on so I can see, but I'm being lazy. But So explain to the company, to my audience, how you came up with the company. I know you talked about your husband having skin cancer, but what
Hmm.
was the motivation behind it? And really, because I'm a yoga guy, I'm big into holistic medicine. I have a herb garden that I grow every year for medicinal purposes.
Hmm.
Not marijuana. For disclaimer now, you got to be careful with that nowadays.
Hmm.
But with oregano and garlic and rosemary and things like that, I grow in my garden to treat ailments that my family normally gets.
Uh-huh.
And so you said that your product was all natural. So please tell my audience out there what makes your product so great, and so and kind of how you guys, after your husband's diagnosis, came up with the company that we're talking about today.
Okay. Do you want to explain like why we even started the sunscreen
Yeah,
company in the first
absolutely.
place?
Yeah, let them
Okay.
know.
Okay. So my husband's very fair complected and he has auburn hair, so
Mm,
very light, and he never liked wearing sunscreen. And both of us are real athletic. We're outdoors a lot. Ride dirt bikes, we kayak, backpack. And anyway, our pup was young at the time, and he was on the sofa with us, and he climbed up on the back and he started licking the top of my husband's head. He's getting a little bit bald up there, and he was just really obsessive about it, and it made us look twice at it, and it continued, for a couple hours, and then the next day he was still trying. So he says, "Hey, is there anything up there?" And it looked like like ingrown hair. To be honest, it's very
mm,
tiny. But he was just so weird about it. Made us look closer at it, and I said, "Well, you should probably make an appointment at the dermatologist." And he did. It ended up being basal cell carcinoma, and so they were able to cut it out. And that was just at a time in our lives where we are having going through a lot of changes. So my husband had gotten kidney problems when he was in the military,
mhm.
primarily genetic, but he'd gone through kidney failure before, and then all of a sudden it started to come back. So, and I don't know if it probably was stress related, to be honest with you, and so it started to
Probably.
come back, and then during that time, we went to see the same nephrologist who got him through it before, and she said to him, like she's one of the best in the country. She said, Lonnie, I told you before, 11 years ago when this first happened, and I'm going to tell you again. I think you should really consider changing jobs. I think your job has everything to do with this. This is after the military, and
Oh,
he
okay.
was, yeah, he was working in the communications industry, and so at that point, he was getting admitted to the hospital, and my mom had just passed away, and I have to get on a plane, and he couldn't come with me. We had a lot of changes going on in our lives, and anyway, uh, after I got back in town from the service, funeral service, and Lonnie, thank God, was released a couple days later. Um, I started thinking, we need a change in our lives, and I thought it's not an option to not wear sunscreen anymore for him, and I was never crazy about it either. So that's where we came up with the idea. I thought there's a lot of men out there who don't use sunscreen, more so I think than women. And I thought
Yeah.
let's start a sunscreen brand, and my goal is to make sunscreen application a daily habit.
And that's really important. And so how did you come up with the formula, or how come up with with what you use for your sunscreen?
Well, we knew we wanted something natural because, like yourself, I'm very involved with healthy eating and exercise. And this was, I should also mention, this was before everyone else was on board with making natural sunscreen. So at the time, I don't even know if the audience knows, but there's two types of sunscreen. There's chemical sunscreen and there's physical sunscreen. So natural sunscreen will always be physical, and you always have one of two, if not two, mineral ingredients present. So it'll always be zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, one or the other, or both. And so I should mention when it comes to a product that is controlled by the FDA, it's a lot different than something that's not controlled by the FDA. So you're very constrained to formulas. You can't just go and just whip up something, and make it like in your
Right.
bathtub. Like if I had a moisturizer, I could easily do that, and I could bottle it that way as well. And there aren't any constraints around that like there is for a sunscreen product. But if you look at a sunscreen label compared to like a lotion label, it'll say drug facts instead of supplement facts or ingredients. That's a lot different. So one, we have to contract with a FDA approved facility to to create our formula and bottle it. So it's a lot more complex in that regard. And then, as I said, like everyone else wasn't on board with mineral sunscreen. So the majority out there were probably chemical. And then right after we started this, then Hawaii passed that law about sunscreen. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, vaguely, I think.
Yeah, there's also those all over the news, and you're hearing about sunscreen and the killing of coral reefs. So a lot of those chemicals
Mhm.
like octinoxate
I
and
do
some of
remember
the
that
other.
now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that became a big deal. So then all of a sudden you had all the chemical sunscreen companies now trying to switch over and make more of a physical sunscreen or natural sunscreen. But that was a challenge because we certainly have more competition than we used to have. But I knew that it was going to revolve around those two ingredients. And in our case, we want sunscreen that's more breathable. We want it as thin as possible while still working. So we say it's like the sunscreen for people that are sweating versus someone just laying sedentary outside. So I already knew we wanted it to be at an SPF 30 because SPF 30 blocks 97% of harmful rays.
Okay.
A lot of people think like 60 would block twice as much as 30, but that's not the way it works with sunscreen. So
No, and I
basically
had my dermatologist tell me that.
yeah,
Once you get over a certain amount, it really doesn't do anything. You might as well just put a
exactly.
shirt on.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're going to be someone who's going to be active outdoors, 30 is the way to go because it feels like your skin can breathe instead of
Mhm.
putting on, 70 or 100. And anyway, those are all important things, that we're going to go into it. And then from there, we had to find a FDA approved facility that was willing to work with us. And that's basically how we got everything going.
Well, that's such a challenge, and what to have a drive. It's staying out here to promote small businesses and veteran-owned business because I think it's important because we know about those challenges. We know how to get something done, right? And you guys
Hmm.
knew you wanted to do this. You didn't exactly know how to do this, but you went out and
Exactly.
figured it out, right? And now
Yes.
now you're here and you're talking about it, and it's a great product. And so if you look up in the chat on the right hand side, I provided two links. One link was to your website, and the other link was where you are offering 20% off any products if anybody who's listening to this podcast, either today or later on. Right. I'm
Yes.
sure they can do it later on because everybody listens to the podcast whenever they want.
Yeah.
That you can receive 20% off your order, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. No.
But also, along with your sunscreen, do you have sunscreen for children too?
We don't, and that got brought up recently. You mentioned about a
Because I
small
knew the
small
question was
business.
going to come up at some point, so I thought I had to ask.
Yeah, yeah. So I've gotten a lot of assistance actually through some of our small business programs that are actually nationwide. If it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for Diana Barbiani specifically from SBDC, which is Small Business Development Center, that's they're under the umbrella of the SBA. And there's actually all kinds of programs that exist because when you think about it, entrepreneurship is really like the backbone of America, isn't it?
It is,
There's
absolutely, yeah.
all kinds of funded programs that you can get assistance with, and not always in the way of money, but in the way of advice from professionals to help you along, and that's what Diana did for us. So that was
And all
a
that was
huge.
through the FDA.
What's that?
Who was that through again?
Oh, that's the SBA,
The
Small Business
Small
Administration.
Business Association. Okay, yeah,
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 yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize how many programs there are out there, and
exactly.
especially with the SBA and there's I mean, there's a ton of them. But do a
Yeah,
little bit of research out there because they are out there, and a lot of times, they're not as busy as they want to be, and they're really eager to help.
yeah, they're always eager to help, and yeah, if there's a lot of different advisors that they have, but in our case, I was able to partner up with Diana, and Diana's background was as a sales rep, and she had her own company, so she knew a lot about like the retail world, specifically like the B2B world, which I didn't know anything about, and
Yeah.
it's been a lot to learn. So I started out just building a website and selling sunscreen that way, and I had taught myself how to do website building for the fitness company, so I was
Yeah.
pretty good about that, and I could do that myself. But to get on these other platforms like Amazon and Walmart.com as a small
Mhm.
business, it's a challenge. It's a lot to learn, but managed to get on there. And then Diana's really stepped in and helped me with the B2B and like the retail locations, which we're trying to grow it in that way, like the mom and pop shops, like the gun shops, knife
Mhm.
shops, bow and arrow shops. That's our market, like outdoor athletes.
So, okay, so because I know this is probably going to come up. So, somebody goes on to Amazon to order your product. Would the 20% code or the link that we use work, or would they just only have to go through the links that we provided today?
Yeah, that'll only work on my website.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to clarify because Amazon's got their own rules, and I know how that works, and
yeah,
they take a lot of money.
yeah,
But then
and
again,
and
that's
they
where
can
they're
they
bigging
can
it up.
actually get 2 day shipping from our website as well.
Okay,
Yeah, so we try to replicate that as much as possible because that's what everybody expects nowadays, right?
yeah, I know, right?
3 days.
They're all spoiled with Prime.
Yep, yep, exactly. Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because there's other websites out there that for patriots and things like that, that people go out and use for and try to look for more products that are made in America, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any issues with that at all. And it's kind of great to see. I like to see because it helps, like you said, entrepreneurs like you and myself
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get your products out there and get them in the hands of people. And I think for a lot of people, they really want to support the small businesses out there and
Right,
support the local people.
right.
But they're like, hey, this is Mental Health Warrior. Why are you talking about this? Well, how does this even relate? And it goes along with your physical health. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a
Yep.
lot of people, I talk about mental, spiritual, and physical health. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this is part of your physical health. And I think I talk about all aspects on my podcast. And if it's something that I have dealt with personally, then I want to have it on because I think it's important. And I
Definitely.
think sunscreen is important. I think there's a lot of chemicals in a lot of the commercial brand sunscreens that I don't
Mm-hmm.
particularly like or want to put on my body. So if somebody out there has a little bit older children, at what age,
Oh, I'm sorry.
would
Yeah,
you
I got away
probably-
from that.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay. I'll bring us back
Uh,
around.
Diane, what made me go down that road was Diana's daughter had actually brought that up. Said, "Oh, Melissa's missing out on this whole market with kids," and she is a kid, and so maybe later we will do that. Make a special formula for kids. Right now, there's been plenty of people that have used it on their kids, and they
Yeah,
love it. It's just that we're not marketing it directly to
sure.
kids. Yeah.
So I
So,
mean, yeah, so it's up to the parents' discretion. However,
yeah.
I'm assuming that's probably if the kids in the teen years is probably safe to use. I would assume, or
I mean,
6.
we've had friends that have used it on like their 4-year-old before, no problems.
Yeah.
Lots of people have.
Yeah. So, everybody's a little bit different. Even with the sunscreen that's, particularly geared towards, children, you still want to try a small area and make sure they don't have a reaction,
Sure,
blah, blah, blah. So,
sure.
parents know how to do that with their children. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
oh,
Go
you,
ahead.
you touched you touched on another subject I was gonna bring up about veterans. So you guys are probably all familiar with GovX out there.
With what?
GovX.
Huh? Oh, GovX. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we partnered up with them. So anyone who is already involved with GovX can get a nice discount also from our site through GovX.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. And do you guys run, is it ran out of your house?
Oh yeah, so
You no
basically,
longer park your car in the garage because it's full of sunscreen now?
oh no, no, like now we actually use a distributor. But yeah, in the beginning, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've grown past that. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, we kind of had to because again, if I'm going to be able to get it to somebody in 2 days, I didn't have that capability.
Yeah.
I couldn't scale it, and yeah, you can only grow so much unless you bring on a distributor.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's great. And it's with it's like when I said in the promo coming onto the show. Summer's coming on. And here in Virginia, we start out pretty wet in the spring, but here in the
Mhm.
early summer, it's been pretty sunny, except for we got the smoke coming down from Canada out here. So for the last 2 days, it's been a little bit cooler than it normally would have been, just because of the smoke kind of blocking the sun some. Which
Sure.
I don't know if you have solar on your house, but when you get solar on your house, you really hate cloudy days.
Yeah,
Like, where's the sun at? I don't want
I
to pay an
get it.
electric bill. And of course, now that I got my Tesla Powerwall, I don't have to worry about it, because then it kind of makes up the difference.
Nice.
But I do a mental health minute every morning, and I talked about that today because I was out in the garage because I had to get things ready for the person to show up, which he was supposed to show up at 9, but he didn't show up till 11. He said they had a special meeting about the air quality, and they just want to make sure the workers were safe going, and I can appreciate that. The safety of the
Sure.
workers is far more important. And I think that's why, because the winds were supposed to shift out here, and then what the air quality is supposed to get better. So
Okay.
we were red. I don't know if California has an air quality alert, but red is normally the highest I've ever seen it. But this morning it was purple. I didn't even know they had
Oh.
a purple color in the air.
Oh, yeah. I did not know
Highest
that either.
and I never even knew that existed. Um, so I wasn't a little too upset that they were a little bit late, because, like I said, the wind was supposed to shift and the air was supposed to get better outside. But he had a mask
Sure.
on, protecting himself. But that comes first. But I was talking about being independent. And when you have mental health issues, or you have physical issues, becoming independent again is really important to your mental health. And this with your other company that you work with physical therapy and people trying to get back on track.
Hmm.
It's very important. And sometimes in your life, and we talked about this, is like you talked about it. Your husband had the spot on his head, and then you had a
Hmm.
death in your family, and then you're trying to do this, and all of a sudden all these things just pile up.
Yeah.
And it gets hard, right?
It is.
And so what did Melissa do to help her get through that tough time in your life?
Well, being depressed while you're exercising is physically impossible, they
I know.
say, because of the endorphin release. So for
You can
me,
start out depressed as you're starting out exercising, but 10 minutes into it, that kind of goes away.
yeah, yeah, I think exercise for me now is kind of like eating or sleeping. It's something that I don't have to think about much. So I lift weights, regularly four times a week. I should
Mhm.
say 4 days a week, and I've probably been doing that for 35 years. So it's just a habit for me. But I think getting outside is really really good. What helps keep me on track.
Yeah.
So we ride dirt bikes and we kayak and getting into some bow hunting, turkey hunting.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, those kind of things. So those are the kind of things that really help keep me on track.
You
Like
know,
I feel like if I haven't gotten outside, I feel I don't know if there's something wrong, something's out of place.
yeah, yeah, it drives me crazy. Even the air quality here was bad, and I still went outside and did grounding. I'm a big,
Yeah.
earther and grounding guy. And it's funny because he's working on my system. He had cut off this big scrap of copper wire, and I said, "Hey, can I have that? Because I'm going to use that in my garden." Because there's been a lot of studies, and this goes back a long time ago, where they ground their garden and they get a higher yield. So I got this big 3 foot piece of copper wire. When we get done here, I'm gonna go out there and ground my garden and see, see if it really works or not. Well, we'll see,
Yeah.
but you never know.
Be an
But
experiment.
it's you know, yeah, right. Yeah, well, it didn't cost me nothing; it was free. But when you are struggling with depression and other things, I talk about this. It's important to go, and you brought it up, to go out and do something different. Or I tell people all the time, just go walk for 10 minutes. Get
Hmm.
up and do something. I was a master fitness trainer in the Army. I was a master resiliency trainer. When I was in college, I worked as a personal trainer.
Okay.
So I understand the importance of exercise. I have a full gym in my house. I don't go to the gym, but I have a very nice gym in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And then here lately, for the past almost year now, I've been doing yoga, and I've become addicted to yoga.
Okay.
Which kind of I got to get back to lifting weights because I'm kind of if you haven't lifted, if you lifted weights for a long time and you switch to doing something else, you miss lifting weights.
Yeah.
And so I got to go out of town next week. And then when I come back in town, I'm going to change up my yoga schedule and go back to fitting weights back into it. Because I really do miss lifting weights. And you can't be away from it more than a couple of weeks if you have lifted your whole life and not miss that.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to give yoga a try. And so I went into it 100%. And I know you talked about yoga a little bit, but people probably get tired of me talking about yoga. But I was an anti-yoga guy, and then I had to eat my words on it. But amazingly, physically, it has made such a big improvement in me. And I had some injuries coming out of the military, where I get Botox in my back and other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it has really helped me with not only my pain management, but also my mental health management. And just able to go there and just relax and kind of shut your mind off, and kind of get into that mode.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is when I started yoga, you put your legs together and you bend over, I couldn't hardly go past my knees, and now I can put my hands flat on the ground. And
Yeah.
the other day I just noticed that, and then my older son was home from college, and he's been going to yoga with me this week, and he's like, "Wow, Dad, you're pretty flexible now." Like,
It's wonderful for flexibility. That's really been my only experience in it was when my husband he needed to kind of change some things around when he first went through the kidney failure, and so I got him in the yoga, and so I went with him just to get him going in it. But
yeah,
other than that, I don't really know a lot about yoga, but I hear people say wonderful things about the flexibility aspect of it, and most men, honestly, they have really tight hamstrings. It's very
yeah,
common.
yeah. Yep, and I noticed that's why I want to get back to lifting, but is that it helped with my strength training, actually, and so what I would do is I would go to yoga for an hour and then come home and do my weights, and then I would do stretching because to me that stretches me out before I start doing weights, and then I do a little bit more stretching afterwards. And so that just really, and I'm an avid runner, so and it helped with my
Mhm.
running, along with, like you said, my hamstrings don't get tight, not as sore. But a lot of the times I'm the only guy in class. It's all about, because I go in the morning, so it's a bunch of
Mhm.
moms or retired, ladies in there, and it's kind of funny to see me in there when I first started. And I had no idea what was going on, and I was so subconscious about it, right? Because I don't know the poses, right? They're talking about warrior one, warrior two, peaceful
Yeah.
warrior, right? And I want to look around to I'm like, these ladies think I'm staring at them or something, but I don't know how to do the pose. But I mean, they know I wasn't staring at them, but I was just trying to, understand the poses. And the instructor, she would move around, so she wasn't always in a fixed place. But it's okay now; I know it all, and
Nice.
they never thought that. That was just my own, mind thinking. And it's funny because they start doing certain things in yoga, right? They tell you just to move, right? But men
Mhm.
kind of
All right. I think you. I think we're losing signal. Seem to have frozen up.
Yeah, his signal over here is gone down. I don't know what happened. Yep, we just lost him. He's coming back. Hold on.
okay.
Okay.
There you are. You're back. Okay.
Hey, you blipped out there for a second, Melissa.
Oh yeah, you did too.
His signal's dropping again.
Yeah. And you
Are we
got
all
my
back in, Chris?
message there.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Cliff, be a good time to wrap it up. Your signal keeps dropping in and out.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to come back. Hey guys, unfortunately, due to unforeseen technical issues, the Mental Health Warrior, we are going to close out. Don't forget to check us out on our shop.veterantrashtalk.com. Pick up that Mental Health Warrior t-shirt. You scan that QR code. You can also hit Wreaths Across America, donate those wreaths. Oh, here he comes. Let's try again. Hold on.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. And folks, thank you again for coming by. We'll have this up on all our major platforms, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, the whole nine. You can catch us live with Wreaths Across America Radio on the Spotify or Odyssey app on Friday nights and Sunday nights. Thank you guys again. Have a good one.
Thank you.